Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're an independent brand or an e-commerce seller right now, you already know the ground is literally shifting beneath your feet. But today, we're going to unpack the architecture of modern digital monopolies. And as we do, we're going to uncover a massive shift and how third-party sellers actually have to do business. We're diving into the economic forces driving these changes, and we'll be parsing through the hard data, comparing the two absolute biggest heavyweights in the room. So we've got to start with this massive macro level question. Is Amazon an unstoppable monopoly or just a really good deal? I mean, it gets right to the heart of Amazon's structural dominance and exactly why it's mostly escaped antitrust scrutiny over the years. To figure out where e-commerce is heading and why sellers are making the tough choices they're making today, we really have to look at the legal and economic foundation that allowed Amazon to become the absolute titan of 21st century commerce. Here is our roadmap for today. We're covering 1. The Amazon paradox, 2. The rising challenger, 3. The cost divide, 4. Performance and order value, 5. Seller rules and realities, and finally, 6. The e-commerce future. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The Amazon paradox. To really grasp today's landscape, we first have to understand the legal paradox that built it. Okay, so it all boils down to something called the Consumer Welfare Standard. Basically, under this framework, regulators measure market competition mostly by looking at short-term price effects for us, the consumers. Now, because Amazon historically chose to price things below cost and accept super meager retail profits just to expand as fast as possible, they kept consumer prices incredibly low, and this effectively shielded their market power from traditional monopoly alarms. The regulator's assumption is pretty straightforward. If prices are low, the market must be healthy, right? But here is the catch. This brilliantly illustrates how Amazon just isn't a store anymore. It is the essential, unavoidable infrastructure that independent sellers are completely dependent on. Think about it. It's a marketing platform, a delivery and logistics network, a payment service, and a massive cloud host all rolled into one. Because old-school antitrust frameworks couldn't really compute this new architecture of market power, Amazon was able to position itself at the absolute dead center of e-commerce. But you know what happens when a platform becomes unavoidable infrastructure? The rent it charges businesses to use that infrastructure inevitably goes up, even if the prices for the end consumer stay low. Section 2. The rising challenger. If Amazon is the everything store, where does a seller actually go when the rent gets too high? Enter Walmart. So Amazon is undeniably massive. We're talking about 1.9 million sellers. They have the audience and the immense scale, for sure. But that comes with fierce competition for every single click. Walmart, on the other hand, sits at a very competitive number 2, but with only about 100,000 sellers. If you're a brand looking for a little breathing room, Walmart's marketplace is an incredibly attractive frontier, precisely because it is way less crowded. Now, what's genuinely fascinating here is how Walmart literally mimicked Amazon's second price model to win over those sellers. Previously, Walmart used a first price auction model, meaning you paid exactly what you bid. But to attract those savvy Amazon sellers, they switched it up. Today, if your listing is highly relevant to what the customer's searching for, you can win the top ad spot without totally overpaying, because you're only paying a fraction of a cent more than whoever is in second place. Section 3. The cost divide. Let's move to the hard data and see what this looks like on the ground for sellers actually paying for these ads. According to Tychometric's benchmark data, 82 cents was Amazon's average cost per click in 2022. That means every single time a customer clicked a sponsored ad, the seller paid almost $1. And because of the intense dogfight among those 1.9 million sellers, this number just constantly wants to climb higher. But in stark contrast, Walmart's average cost per click was exactly half that of Amazon, 41 cents. That is a massive cost-saving opportunity. When your advertising costs are literally cut in half, your profit margins on every single product you sell get a huge boost. That's a game changer for sellers' bottom line. Just look at the 2022 trends on this chart. You can clearly see Amazon's costs, that top line, climbing and jumping all over the place, hitting up to 88 cents in May. Meanwhile, Walmart's costs stayed remarkably consistent and way lower, hovering right around that low 40-cent mark for the whole year. Actually, scratch that. It's worth noting that as more sellers migrate over to Walmart to chase these lower costs, we are starting to see those CPCs inch upward, but the gap is still huge. So, going back to that antitrust paradox. Amazon is cheap for buyers, absolutely. But as we can see here, it is becoming incredibly expensive for sellers, which totally sets the stage for Walmart's appeal. When you add up a 15% referral fee, another 20 to 35% for Amazon's fulfillment services, plus advertising, plus a $40 monthly fee, Amazon can effectively swallow up to 50% of a seller's revenue. 50%! Walmart, conversely, runs much leaner. No monthly setup fees, and they only take their referral and fulfillment cut, usually between 8 and 15%, when you actually make a sale. Section 4. Performance and order value. Costs are only half the story, right? We also have to look at the value sellers are actually getting back. Check this out, Walmart actually boasts a higher average order value at $41.56, compared to Amazon's $34.70. You might be wondering, why is that? Well, it's heavily influenced by consumer psychology. People treat Walmart like a grocery retailer. Because 41% of Walmart's online audience knows them from their physical stores, they tend to log on and buy multiple household items or groceries all in one go, which drives up that total basket size. And here's where it gets really interesting. Despite the lower advertising costs and less competition on Walmart, conversion rates are surprisingly neck and neck. Amazon converts at 12.6%, and Walmart is right there at 11%. This proves both marketplaces hold highly viable audiences with very strong purchasing intent. For a seller, this is incredible news. It means when customers go to Walmart, they aren't just window shopping, they're showing up ready to buy, just like they do on Amazon. Section 5. Seller rules and realities. With both platforms offering such strong conversions, what does the day-to-day grind actually look like?
Well, for starters, Walmart actively prioritizes the customer experience over the algorithm. If you've ever shopped on Amazon, you've seen those product titles that are just a chaotic, rambling string of keywords. Amazon allows up to 250 characters, though they do suppress ones over 200. Walmart? No way. They refuse to let their site look like that. They demand clean, readable titles strictly between 50 and 75 characters. You literally cannot just copy and paste your Amazon listings over to Walmart. You have to play by a much stricter set of aesthetic rules.
Looking at this breakdown of seller metrics, you'll notice Walmart actually gives you a tiny bit more leeway on defect rates, allowing up to 2% over 90 days compared to Amazon's 1% over 60 days. But honestly, here is the open secret for both of these platforms. Maintaining these insanely strict cancellation and tracking metrics manually on your own is practically impossible. Because of this, both platforms heavily incentivize you to use their in-house fulfillment, FBA for Amazon or WFS for Walmart. It totally solves the compliance headache, but it locks the seller even further into the platform's infrastructure. Section 6. The e-commerce future. Let's wrap this explainer up by connecting these day-to-day seller realities back to that massive economic landscape we started with. With Walmart adopting Amazon's bidding models, algorithm priorities, and fulfillment services to capture seller market share, we really are left wondering what this means for the future of truly open commerce. We saw that Amazon dodged antitrust action by keeping consumer prices low, effectively building a private infrastructure that independent businesses are now forced to pay a premium to use. Walmart is stepping in as this much-needed competitor, offering lower fees and incredible conversion rates. But to win those sellers, Walmart is building the exact same type of walled garden infrastructure. So the question we have to leave you with today is this. As e-commerce evolves, are third-party sellers gaining true freedom or simply choosing which giant's infrastructure they want to pay rent to? Thanks for exploring this data with me today. Definitely keep an eye on those CPC metrics because this landscape is changing fast.